Got cravings that when you need that food or that sugar, it's like you're ready to just knock over people like a bulldozer, and it can kind of ruin or just take over your life, right? Well, I'm Dr. J, and I am going to talk about 5 tips to help you beat your sugar cravings. The first one that I'm going to talk about has to do with sort of like how I'm in the car right now. I'm with our baby Theodore, and I meant to do this at home with proper lighting where I'm not driving, but such is life, and you got to roll with the punches. So tip number 1 is that accept that there are no rules. So I'm going to give you some amazing and some key tools that are really going to make sense, and you're going to utilize them, and that will give you the best chance of kicking those cravings. But the number one thing is, if you've got this fixed time frame or you've got this fixed definition of the way that you feel like you should feel or whatever's going on in your life, you might as well just kick that out the window, because we're all going up the same struggle mountain, but we have our own lane and we have our own experiences, and understand that that is okay. So we all have our own stress, we all have our own situation, and understand that the key is to make progress, and then afterwards, if something worked or didn't work, then you can go back and say, okay, well, this didn't work. What are possible reasons? And I know it's hard to not be frustrated, but that moves me into the second tip on beating cravings, is that have a plan of attack for your emotions. Because the majority of us, the reason why we emotionally eat or we get cravings is because we're emotional, not always, but we might be emotionally imbalanced. So we might be hungry, we might be dehydrated, but then when our adrenals are kicking into overdrive because we're super stressed, we don't know how to handle a situation, well, that just takes everything over the edge. So have a plan of attack. For some people it's yoga, for some people it's meditation, it's guided meditation. For some people, when they recognize it, they now take a step back and they do the 5-5-5 method, where they recognize they're stressed, they stop, and then they inhale for 5 seconds, pause, and then take a deep exhale for 5 seconds. So that's something where you may want to get with a coach or somebody that might be able to help you. I'm sure you can Google it, tips on how to emotionally manage yourself. Again, that doesn't happen overnight, but that would be step 2. The reason why I did those first 2 things is because before we get into the actual biological reasons of why we might have cravings, if your mind isn't right, if you don't develop your mind right first, it doesn't make a difference what you fill your body with that it doesn't have, okay? Okay, tip number 3, dehydration. One of the biggest things, we just, as Americans, we don't drink enough water. The recommendations for the average individual not on medication or having any other conditions is you take your body weight. Half your body weight in ounces is what you want to aim for. So for instance, I'm 150 pounds. I want about 75 ounces of water, but I actually need a little bit more if I'm doing a high endurance exercise that day. So you gauge yourself, okay? Along the lines with water, a big tip is when you have a plan of attack and when you recognize those cravings, stop and drink 8 ounces of water. Lemon water, lime water, whatever you want. I recommend, lemon water is great, but I definitely recommend. You may be dehydrated, you may not, but that's a plan of attack. Now, the last 2 are really good because, yes, it's important to get your mind right, and dehydration might be a reason, but wouldn't it be great to not have to fight those cravings? Because not all of us, sometimes you just don't have the willpower. Wouldn't it be great to just not feel like you really needed to have those cravings? So, tip number 4 is get rid of the grains and the sugar in your diet and replace it with fat. My wife Brooke and I have moved into low carb, into ourselves and teaching other people a low carb, high fat lifestyle. And I'm learning a lot about integrative nutrition, alternate medicine therapies, and I'm a huge fan of using food as medicine, using supplements as medicine. And one thing that I believe is that, I'm a pediatric dentist. In dental school, in medical school, we never learned really a whole lot about nutrition and really how to attack the cause. We really only knew how to cure the symptoms, or at least fix the symptoms for the time being. And so what I'm learning is that we can change the way that we eat to correct the way that we feel and the way that our bodies operate. And it's an amazing thing. When Brooke and I started removing grains and sugars from our diet, from our pantries first, a whole world opened up. And we started transitioning from just using glucose for energy to using our fat stores. And that's a whole separate issue. But understand what cravings are. Cravings they can be emotional, because when you eat things that are sugary or carbohydrate, it immediately releases a dopamine response. It makes you feel good. And so if you are often in a state of not feeling good, then you will have those cravings. So when you move to a low carb, high fat diet, you naturally get this overall generalized sense of euphoria. And for some of you guys, you know what I mean. Now, when you start increasing all these fats, the hardest thing is in your mind. You're gonna have to dispel a lot of the beliefs of the fact that fat is bad, because fat is very good. Except for, and most oils are good except for hydrogenated oils. There's a lot of things, and if any of you guys are listening to this and a little bit confused, send me a message to Jason Lipoff, JasonLipoff @gmail.com. Put in the subject heading, I saw your YouTube video, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about the low carb, high fat diet, see if it might be able to work for you. Even if you've got a ton of medical conditions, specifically it might be for you. So when you start removing that, your cravings go away, because you're actually you're emotionally balanced, but then also you're not as, most likely you might not be nutrient depleted. Now, that's kind of the other thing. So removing grains and sugars, and then making sure that you're getting the nutrients from your diet. So if you remove grains and sugars and you start incorporating fats, but you're still really deficient, then most likely you'll still have cravings, but it's not gonna feel like the cravings that you always have, like the really bad sugar cravings. It's cravings like your body's like, I still need more, but I don't know where to get it. So you may get cravings for other things besides sugar. The last thing, and this is so key, this is one thing that I think a lot of people miss, and it's probably because of the fact that, as I'm getting trained in integrative medicine, I'm realizing the importance of how many people have yeast overgrowth, and how many people are, have Candida in their gut, in their gut flora. And it happens over time for a lot of reasons. Now, how do you know if you do? Now, for women, do you have a history of nail infections, of yeast infections? There's a whole list of things. However, even if you don't fall into any of those categories, there's still a good chance that you still may have yeast overgrowth in your gut. And what you want to do is you want to combine a good prebiotic and probiotic protocol along with like a gut flora complex, but something that is specifically targeted. So for instance, like in some super nutrient shakes, or in like Shakeology, which we take, that's like a jack of all trades. It's phenomenal for maintenance, and it's really life-changing. But when I coach people and I can target in on things like skin conditions, if they've got parasites, if they've got toxins, well, before you can get to that maintenance, you want to be taking supplementation, high quality supplementation, for like 4 to 6 weeks of just the supplement that you need. So just probiotics, whether it's an inulin complex or several other things, or a complex that's got lactobacillus and a certain amount of probiotics that you're going to need to start replacing your flora. And that's how you can prevent yeast overgrowth. Even for people that don't have cravings, it's phenomenal. It is so needed in our society because of our diet. So that last part is what I do. Is I do complimentary workups for people And so for anybody that's watching this, supposing that I'm not too busy, please, again, send me a message. And again, I saw your YouTube video about yeast overgrowth, and I would be happy to provide some recommendations for you on how to help and see if it is something like yeast overgrowth that might be causing your cravings or something else. So those are 5 things. Those are 5 things that you want to focus on, that those tools really, they'll beat 99% of your cravings, okay? I see too many people, like right now what we do is, as we're trying to put Band-Aids on things, we're telling people to, excuse me for one sec as I turn. We tell people to use the super nutrient, the Shakeology, the vegan chocolate, which tastes amazing, and to mix it with some almond milk at night, maybe a little bit of peanut butter, make it like a pudding, which makes it's nutritious and it feels like a sweet. But how about if you didn't need that? So I'll give you a tip 6, by the way, which is just like an additional thing, and that would be, if you've already moved to a low carb, high fat diet and you're getting your nutrition in, you've got targeted supplementation, you're emotionally balanced, or you've got a plan of attack. The last thing is, you may just need to cycle out your when you're taking your meals. So intermittent fasting could be a solution for you also. I've noticed that my cravings went way down after I stopped eating at 8 o'clock, and I wasn't eating until like noon the next day, like a 15-hour fast, and it was really kicking my cravings. Just drinking lemon water and bone broth during the fasting period. So that's been a huge helper for me personally. 7 would be sleep. You want to make sure you're getting 6 to 8 hours. If you're not, there's tips there, melatonin, things like that. But so I guess that just became 7. But those are things that's a checklist to see exactly. Because if you can master cravings, I tell you what, you are on the road to success in everything in life. Because I know so many people that they, instead of actually overcoming it, they just manage it and they live with it. And then you see some people that like just accept their cheat days, accept it, but like deep down inside they are wondering, like, how much is this hindering my progress of feeling good? And it is amazing when you just succumb to one sugar attack, how damaging it can, much more than we thought, how damaging it can be to, it can halt your progress for weeks. So I hope that helped, guys. Have a great day. And again, feel free to message me, and I try and answer all my questions within 24 to 40 hours, or send me a message on YouTube. Have a good one, guys. Bye.